Hey guys, what's up? Happy Monday. I hope you are having a fantastic day so far. It is really good to be back with you guys. I had to cancel last week. Just had some stuff going on, but that's okay. We adjust and we move on, right? And then we iterate. So today, for those who are joining for the very first time, I just want to welcome you to our live Q&A for AI, automation, and systems to help support your business. This is a time that I set aside to answer any questions that people have regarding AI automations for their business to help them get back their time and grow their business. I myself have a background in software engineering. I've done this for over 11 years now, and so I'm on a mission to help 1,000 people with AI and automations. I'm also learning a lot of stuff as we go because, as you know, if you've been paying attention to the AI space, things are rapidly evolving. So if you have questions, I'd love to hear them today. I have put a form in the video description wherever you're watching this. They also should be in the chat. If you go fill out that form, you're going to have the opportunity to submit your questions to me. I'm going to see them come in live on my side. And as I go through each question, if you've got a new question that comes in, I'm going to go and hit your question one by one in order. So that's the point of today's session. I also have something a little special for you guys today. If you aren't in the AI Employee Club, that's okay. Typically what I do is I take this first 30 minutes or so and answer people's questions publicly. And then we go into the AI Employee Club and do more in-depth stuff. But what I thought might be helpful to do today is to share some perspective of something that I've learned as I was trying to dig into some systems that would be friendly to people who are a little less technical, like no-code platforms like Make.com, N8N, Zapier, those kinds of things. We were starting with Make.com to try to set up an AI employee. Particularly, we were going to try to set one up that mimicked something that I had posted a video about previously, where I connected an AI tool, chat tool, with my Go High Level system. And I was curious to know, can we set up an AI employee, essentially an AI agent, to do a lot of this stuff autonomously? And I ran into some problems with Make. We're gonna talk a little bit about that toward the end, and then talk about what I'm gonna shift to next. And then we'll shift into the AI Employee Club, where you can join us if you so desire. So with all that said, I think that's enough of the upfront chit chat out of the way. Let's go ahead and start taking a look at these questions. Again, if you are just now joining and you have questions about AI, automations, systems for your business, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you are just getting started or whether you have a lot of years of experience in your business, you're cash flowing, you're just looking for ways to grow. Please submit those questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer them from a technical perspective. All right, let me take a look at our list for today, and let's see what kind of questions we have. So, all right, our first question of the day comes from Carter. Carter asks, can AI predict which of my leads will actually close based on past patterns? Carter, this is a great question. The answer to this would be yes, but I think you may be able to actually do this without AI. And most of your question actually depends on how you've collected your data. So in the world of automation and AI, like, data is king. And so you have to first make sure that you have a system that is in place to be able to collect that data. So for example, if you have leads coming in on a particular day of the week, maybe it's like every Wednesday, in the morning, you tend to see more leads come in. You would want to make sure that you are tracking the timestamps for when those leads are actually created, or if it's, based on like how things are moving through your pipeline at certain time frames. You'd want to make sure you have timestamps for every time something is updated to a new stage. And you need to collect all that data into some kind of database. It could even be a spreadsheet. It doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter exactly what it is, as long as you're collecting the data somewhere so that you can export it and do something with it. So once you have all of that data in place, then what you can do is you can take it and run it through some different pieces of software to help you identify those patterns. So you probably could actually even take that data and run it even through just ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, help me figure out what are the patterns here in this data. And you could even, with some of the newer updates to ChatGPT, you could probably take advantage of some of the like the Canvas features, where it can actually create interfaces for you to interact with. So you could give it the data and then it could create those interfaces and you could interact with it and see it. Even over like a week, you could see like a chart or something like that. And so those are things that are definitely possible. Maybe it's the easiest way to do it. You don't have to use AI though. You could use statistical models and things like that if you know how to do it. But I would say, if you've got somebody on your team who can understand how to do those things for you, like definitely leverage them. And if not, then yeah, go give it a shot with AI. Just make sure you've got all the data. Again, if you don't have the data, then you're going to struggle in this space. So I hope that's helpful, Carter. I love that idea. I might actually be using that for some of my own business. All right. Let's take a look at our next question. Again, if you are just now joining in, take a look at the description and of the video, of the live stream, and the chat, because I've got the links there for you to be able to go to the form and submit your questions. If you don't put the questions in there, I'm not going to see them. If you're putting them in the chat, then unfortunately, I may miss it. So just want to let you know that. Let's go ahead and move on to our next question. So Juliana asks, how do I make sure my automations keep working if my tech stack changes? Ooh, okay, Juliana, I love this question because this is something that's really easily overlooked. One of the things that most people don't tend to think about is the cost of maintenance. And maintenance, in my opinion, is one of the most expensive parts of having a system, and it's always going to be required. If you've got a business that runs some kind of system, you're going to have to maintain that system. And particularly with software, you have to keep your software up to date. So if you don't, then you're going to run into situations where you will accrue what's called tech debt, and eventually you will have to pay off that tech debt by investing in upgrading those systems, because there's always security vulnerabilities that are discovered. Other, systems that your system depends on, they upgrade, and so you have to keep your systems up to date with the other up-to-date systems. So there's all sorts of things like that. So the question at hand of how do you make sure your automations keep working if your tech stack changes? Particularly, I think the key is the integrations, but it could also be, I don't know your full context, Juliana, but if you've got moving parts in your business where, you've got different teams working on different parts, then what I'm going to say is that all comes down to having good automated testing. So you want to be thinking about, over time. Well, I would say it's automated testing plus having a plan for scheduled maintenance. So on the automated testing front, you need to make sure that you have a system in place that is going to be able to run tests on the things that you've created. You want those to run every time that you make a change that you're testing out. So that's before you actually release that into production, so to speak, before it becomes like public facing. You want to make sure that you also run these typically on some cadence, on some regular interval, because particularly if you've got like integrations with other services, you want to make sure that you are notified right away if there's some kind of problem with that integration. So make sure that you have automated tests in place. There's a variety of different tests that you could do. That kind of gets in the technical weeds, and we can maybe talk about that some other time, but you need a good mix of like testing of different smaller pieces of your system, and then you also need like end-to-end tests to make sure that everything works when it's integrated together. So that's the automated testing piece. So Giuliani, the other thing that you need to keep in mind is make sure that you have some kind of like planned review in place for maintenance. So you need to make sure you keep track of what are the things, the integrations that my system depends on. And then over time, you need to periodically check to see if there are any updates. If you can, like maybe join some kind of news feed, RSS feed, or whatever it is from the system or the services that your system depends on. So that way you can see if there's anything that's coming in that would be potentially concerning. Like, oh, there's some kind of security fix. We need to upgrade to the newest version or whatever it is. If you make sure that you are watching that feed and that you are periodically checking to make sure, for the things that don't have a feed, to make sure there's nothing that you need to upgrade, then you should be good. And then just make sure you have a plan as a part of your roadmap to upgrade those systems, because if you don't, you're going to end up with tech debt. One little thing I would add here, which I think is really unique now that we're in the age of AI, is that you could probably create AI agents to help you manage that piece so that way you don't lose track of anything. So you could probably create an AI agent that says, oh, well, I'm using all these things in my tech stack, in my systems, and I want to make sure that I don't miss any important upgrades or updates. So will you please go out to these sources every so often, keep the sheet up to date, with all this stuff, where we're at, what we need to do, and then have it go and do that for you. And I think that would be a great use of your time, and then you might just check what research the AI has done for you every so often. And hopefully that saves you a lot of time from having to read through a ton of stuff, and it just makes your life a little bit easier, or maybe it helps you catch things you wouldn't have otherwise caught. So I think that's another great use case for AI, especially as you're thinking about, well, how do we keep our own systems up to date? All right, that was a little bit of a long answer, but Juliana, I hope that was really helpful for you. Let's take another look at our questions here to see what else has come in. And I'm going to try to do a little better about also checking the chat here and there, if anybody has anything that they throw in there. Okay, so let's get this next question here from Eli. So Eli says, can I set up Go High Level to instantly send property details to a buyer list as soon as I lock up a deal? Eli, absolutely you can do this. So the way I would think about doing that is I would probably say I would base that on like where an opportunity is in the pipeline. So I would probably have a stage that says send lead or deal to buyer's list or something like that. That's super clear. So when you close up your deal, you just have to move it through the pipeline, and then you have an automation that's set up that goes and collects all the relevant information and maybe puts it together in an email and then sends that email out to the people on your list. It could also be a text. But yes, that is a fantastic use case of Go High Level. And that's why a lot of people love to use it for Dispo. It's a fantastic platform for doing marketing and sales. So I definitely would recommend that. For anybody who's listening who may have a need for a Go High Level system or want to know more about it, what I can do is I can provide a link for that, and you can sign up if you so desire. I work with Full Stack Coordination. They provide the white label services, and I would just say if you don't really need to set up your own agency, then just use a white label service and focus on your sub account and the things that you need it for. So, all right, let's go ahead and look at our next question here. So our question comes from Paige. Paige is asking, how do I use automation to handle leads coming in from Facebook, Instagram, and my website all at once? Okay, so Paige, this is a good question. If you have that kind of problem, it's a good problem. Means your business is really thriving. What I would say is it depends on the way those leads are coming in. So you may not have a single automation that does everything, because your leads could be coming in from a form. You could be, linking people to a landing page that has a very specific form, from maybe paid ads or maybe it's a social media post. There's also this functionality that you have the capability to leverage in Facebook and Instagram where, somebody clicks on your ad or whatever, and then it lets them DM you in those messenger systems. So I would say it just depends partly on that. As far as the automation piece, there's a couple of things that you could think about it here. So aside from the way that the lead comes in, let's just assume that you're getting it into your system in some way. And let's say that this is not one of those messenger leads. If you have a messenger lead, I think you could handle it a little differently with AI. Let's say it's coming in as a form, and you're creating some kind of opportunity in a pipeline or something like that. Then what I would say is you could do a couple things. You could, if they've opted in, send them an automatic email, text. You could even create a voice AI to give them a call right away. Maybe, you may be able to even close them right away in that. And you may be able to leverage some kind of AI, if it's a text or an email. If it's a voice AI, you can definitely do that too. So it's possible that you could have a whole conversation that even closes them right then and there if your offer is super clear. And if you set it up to be able to handle objections. So if you give the AI, a list of common objections and you kind of give it the goal and things like that, it could do that for you. The other way to think about this would be, well, maybe your business model requires you to set up a call with a real person. And so if that's the case, then you would do a similar type of thing, except your conversion isn't a sale. Your conversion is, hey, can we get them in an appointment, right? Can we send them a booking link or get them booked right then and there? So the key there is to try to make sure your automation is triggered as soon as that lead comes in, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to wait several days, or even hours, because people get busy and people forget. So you ideally want to follow up right away, regardless of the method that you use. So you can set up those types of automations in all sorts of different ways. You can do them in Go High Level. You can do them in Zapier or Make. You could do them in N8N. I mean, in theory, you could do these in, like with a spreadsheet as a database if you really wanted to. Not that I necessarily recommend that for the long term, but it is possible. So we have a lot of options that are available today, which make that very, very feasible. So Paige, I hope that answers your question. I would say just one more thing, just from the people that I listen to who have a lot of experience, they tend to say focus on one platform at a time. So just make sure you're dialing it into one platform first, and then you can always add additional automations as time goes on. All right, let's take another look at our questions here. If you have a question, you're just now joining, please drop that question in the form that is linked in the video description and in the chat. Once you fill out that question, I'm going to see it come in live on my side, and then I will answer those questions. I think we have enough time. We're going to do one more question, and then we're going to talk a little bit about why it is that I'm moving away from Make. So let me look here through my questions. Okay. Melissa asks, what's the easiest way to set up an emergency follow-up for hot leads that I forgot to call back? Okay. So, Melissa, I'm missing some context here. So, it depends on your system. Your system, ideally, you should have a system that lets you create automations that you could follow up, with a text or with a call, with an email or whatever it is. So what I would do if I were creating this automation is I would probably say, and this, let me back up. This depends on your processes. So you need to first define your processes for your business. If, for example, your processes dictate that a lead that comes in should be reached out to within a certain period of time, like you need to have that defined, right? And when that's defined, then you can make the decision about how you should deal with the ones that were missed, because your question is kind of vague, which means that how do I know how long I should wait before the automation follows up? So what I would do is define your processes. Maybe it's like, hey, this should not go more than, an hour, and then they should get an emergency follow-up or whatever it is. So once you've defined that, then you can create an automation that says, hey, watch the leads that have come in that are in this stage. Maybe you even are marking them with some kind of tag that says this is a hot lead, or maybe it's a particular stage like hot lead needs follow-up or something. And then based on when that was updated, then you say, okay, well, again, using the hour as an example, oh, it's been an hour and I haven't received any new data about this, then you have an automation that sends them an email, sends them a text, gives them a call, or whatever it is. You might even be able to front load the process though, like kind of like what we were talking about before. instead of a person having to immediately do the follow-up, well, I guess I'm assuming that this is a fresh lead. You may be talking about a case where you've had an initial conversation and you just need to have a touch point every now and then. So I guess it depends on your scenario a little bit, but I would say, like, if it's for new leads, maybe create automations that do those things automatically, so that way you don't miss those. And then if this is like having just touch points later on, then I would say you need to define a time, some kind of cadence that says, if I haven't reached out to them in this amount of time, then go ahead and follow up. And you just have to make sure that your processes account for that automation. So, for example, if you are about to follow up with them, you don't want a situation where you send them a text, but then your system didn't know that you sent a text, and then it sends a text based on the timing. So you need to make sure that your automation is set up to detect in some way that you did follow up. And whether that's, you remove a tag or something, or you move it to the next stage before you respond, whatever it is, you just need to make sure you don't miss something there, because you don't want to send duplicate things. It kind of makes the conversation a little weird. So I hope that is helpful for you. Melissa, thank you so much for asking that question. I think that's going to be where we pause our questions for the day. So let me talk a little bit about make.com and why I'm moving away from this. So, and maybe even why I'm even considering make.com in the first place. So, like I said before, I have a background in software engineering. So, I'm very confident that I can program about anything that I need to from scratch. So why in the world am I using no-code tools like make.com or Zapier or whatever it is? The reason I'm doing that is because my goal is to help as many people as I possibly can. Ideally, I want to help 1,000 people get back their time and grow their business with AI and automations. And to do that, I do offer people done-for-you services, but I can't help that many people if I'm just doing one-to-one done-for-you services. Even if I build out a team for that, it would be very challenging to do that. Not that it's impossible, but it does become challenging. And so one of the ways that I'm trying to tackle this is by doing one-to-many solutions, like done with you or do it yourself type of solutions for things. And the best way for people who don't have a technical background to get the help they need as a done with you, do it yourself type of solution is with no code tools. So that's why I'm really kind of starting to dig into this stuff as we do these things together. So that's the reason for it. Now, let me talk a little bit about make.com specifically and the problems that I'm facing with it. So in the AI Employee Club, what we did was we walked through an example of how do you set up an AI tool, like I was using Claude Desktop, for example. How do you set up Claude Desktop to interact with Go High Level? Because recently they released their MCP servers, which is just a way for these AI tools and AI agents to be able to interact with their servers. So my goal was to say, hey, just like I did this with Claude Desktop and connected it, and I did a whole video on this where I show, you can create a contact and have him automatically send an email and all this stuff. I want to see if I can create like an AI agent, an AI employee inside of make.com that will be able to interface with Go High Level, so that way it's more like an employee, right? It is truly like an AI employee that I can interact with. And so I started down this path on using make.com for this. The trouble is that the way that they construct their agents, it doesn't really jive with what MCP was really made to do, if that makes sense. So MCP, it stands for Model Context Protocol. And I know this is going to get a little technical, but try to hang with me. The MCP was supposed to be like a plug and play system, a way for you to like plug and play different services with your AI chatbots and AI agents. And so all you do is you say, hey, this service has an MCP server. I want you to connect to it. Here's the little configuration snippet. So you just put in a little configuration file. And then when the AI chatbot spins up, or when the AI agent spins up and it starts running, then it automatically goes to the server, says, hey, what are the things you can do? The server says, hey, I can do these things for you. And then the AI knows what are the things that I can use that server for. And then as you're interacting with it, or as it's doing things, it can interact with that server to do certain things. Like it can create contacts and Go High Level, or it can send emails through Go High Level, or whatever it is. So the trouble is that make.com implemented the MCP client, because there's a server that has the services, and then there's the client, which is like the chatbot or the AI employee. Make.com implemented the client in such a way that it doesn't like inform the AI. Like it doesn't reach out to the server and get the information about what it can do and then come back and it doesn't do all of that. You connect the client to the tools, and then you have to manually like configure all these things in a way that just doesn't make sense. So let me try to I know a lot of this might be a little confusing. Let me show it to you. Hopefully it is a little less confusing when you see it. So let's take a look at this. So like, for example, in this case, I've got a Google Sheet and I want to say, well, hey, anytime that these people are added to my Google Sheet, which is essentially acting as a database, then I want you to like update the status. And then the goal was, hey, let's go create these things as contacts inside of Go High Level, and then let's send them an email. So what I tried to do first was let me delete this thing. So we tried to come in here and say, okay, well, let's talk about using an MCP client. So this MCP client has this thing called a call tool. And so you can click that, and then you can choose the tool that you want, right? Like these are the specific things that the server can do, that Go High Level can do. And so I can do those, but then I have to like give it very specific information, and I have to like I'm explicitly forcing this thing to execute. That doesn't solve my problem. The problem I'm trying to solve is I want the AI to act as like an employee that figures out which thing to call. I don't want to explicitly call this. This is no better than setting up like an API call. So why would I use this MCP client call tool here? It just doesn't make sense. And the only way to like have an AI use the proper tool is if I created a bunch of logic inside of Make to try to figure out, oh, well, the agent detected that this needed to happen, and then so we're going to call this thing, and then I'd have to create a big loop. It's just way more complicated than it needs to be. So we could delete this, and we can look at the Make AI agents. And this wasn't really any better. Like when I went and I looked at the AI agents, I don't know if I have access to this because I'm not paying for Make right now. Yeah, I don't. But when I went and I looked at some other videos on and some pictures and things like that of how these things work, it just wasn't clear. Like I wasn't, what really needs to happen here for this to be an excellent tool is that when I create an AI agent, I need to be able to say, okay, AI agent, here are the list of MCP servers that I want you to have access to. And then I want to write the prompt, and then I want it to figure out what to do. I don't need to be explicitly coding these things. Now I will limit how much it can do and, craft the prompt and all those things, but I don't want to explicitly program these things, because if I did, I would just do that. And for people who don't have the technical experience, this is going to be a struggle. So that's my current take on this. I wanted to use make.com originally because I really enjoyed their grid feature that they recently announced. Like if you go to make.com grid and you look up this, like this is a new cool visualization that they have to show you how things are connected and flowing. And I think this is really, really neat as a feature. But since we're trying to create AI employees, this is just that issue with the AI agents and the MCP client. It's just not going to work. So what are we going to do? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to start checking out a tool called N8N. And so this is another no code type of tool that lets you create workflows, automations, just like make.com. They've got a lot of different integrations, which is very nice. I can run this on their server. I can also run this on my own computer if I really want to. I believe there's self-hosted options as well. So that is really nice. You'll notice here in this picture, you can connect the model, the memory, and then you can connect the MCP tools here to the agent. This makes a lot more sense. So this is what we want to go for. So what we're going to do today in the AI Employee Club is we're going to pivot. We're going to pivot because when we run into a problem, we pivot to a new solution if that's what we need. So we're going to pivot to N8N. We're going to start exploring this to figure out, can we use this in the way that we expect to create our AI employees seamlessly? And I expect the answer is probably yes. Or at least that is my strong hope. So we're going to check this out today in the AI Employee Club. And hopefully we'll have some success. And if we do, then you guys who are watching on the internet right now, you guys will see those results probably in a video at some point. All right, y'all. That's the gist of it. I hope that explains why we're pivoting from make.com to now N8N. Hopefully it's very clear that they're in. We'll see how technical this gets, because I don't want people to get overwhelmed, especially if you don't have a technical background. But that's kind of the point of the AI Employee Club, is that we can do this side by side. And if you've got questions, then you can ask those live as we're going through things. and you won't get lost. So I hope that helps you guys. We're going to go ahead and end our session here. Before we do, I want to let you all know that if you want to get reminders for email reminders for future Q&A sessions, you can use the link there that in the QR code on the right. That'll send you those reminders. Typically you get them like a day out and then like 10 minutes before our live sessions. Let me make sure. I don't think I had those links immediately available on YouTube to click. They should be there on Facebook and very easy to click. So let me see if I can grab those really quick. Give me a moment, folks. I hope these sessions have been helpful for you guys today. We had a lot of really fantastic questions. So keep bringing them. I want to make this better and better for you guys as time goes on. So let me see here. I got to grab my doc here. As that link is up, let me just talk through this a little bit about the AI Employee Club and what it is. So the AI Employee Club, I'll grab this first link for the AI Employee Club. The AI Employee Club is a place for professionals and solopreneurs and anybody who's really trying to learn about how to create AI employees, to create proper automations in their business, to be able to come and join us for detailed, in-depth Q&As, working through setting up things together. You also, when you join the AI Employee Club, get access to all of the, here's the link in Facebook for the AI Employee Club. You also get access when you join the AI Employee Club to any additional resources we have in there and previous challenges that we've done. So we actually did a live one day AI receptionist challenge where we taught folks how to set up their own voice AI phone receptionist in Go High Level. And we did this from scratch. We had Rebecca as our volunteer to be the one that we walked through her system to set things up. She never touched Go High Level. She never touched these AI before. And we showed her how to set up not only a single agent, but we taught her how to set up a whole system, like a whole IVR system where you say, press 1 to go to this department, press 2 to go to this department inside of Go High Level, and then have multiple AI employees or AI phone receptionists that could pick up the call, walk through a script, collect data, and leverage a knowledge base. So if those are the types of things that you want access to, then you can join the AI Employee Club today and come ask your questions, come use our resources. We want to grow. We want to provide more value. If you've got suggestions on how we can make it even better, we are open to those suggestions. So that's what the AI Employee Club is. The link is there in the chat on YouTube, also on Facebook. And for those who want to get those email reminders, I'm going to post that. It's already on Facebook, but I'm going to go ahead and post that here for YouTube as well. So if you want to get email reminders when these live sessions come up, then go ahead and fill out that form. We typically do these every Monday starting at 6 p.m. Central Time and go up to about 6:30. We're going over a little bit today, and that's okay. I'm thinking about expanding how many we do of these. I had to cancel the ones that we were doing on Saturday, but I'm thinking about doing them a little more frequently. So if you got suggestions, you feel free to let me know. All right, y'all, we're going to end it here for the day. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, it was a pleasure to hang out with you guys. We're going to drop and head on over to the AI Employee Club. So, hope you guys have a good one. Take it easy.